West Didsbury, bustling, independent, creative. New commercial enterprises are a common sight, and the arrival of the Metrolink has brought fresh energy and increased footfall to the area. But one iconic landmark had until recently been slowly dying. The Edwardian Canopy above the parade of shops on Lapwing Lane, commonly known as the Lapwing Lane Arcade, recently celebrated its centenary, but it only just made it.
This wonderful arcade that you can see behind me was built in 1913, just over 100 years ago, and in the last few years it's fallen into rack and ruin. It was on the point of collapse, and local people who'd loved the arcade and shopped here over the years and liked its architecture felt that was a terrible loss, and we wanted to do something about it, so we did something about it.
A local campaign began to raise funds.
The reaction from the passers-by was phenomenal. People were really interested in what we were trying to do. They gave us a £5 a head, which got us going, and so that gave us the courage to believe that we could indeed restore it and bring it back to life.
With money coming in and grants secured from Manchester Council and the Heritage Lottery Fund, an architect was hired.
I drew the whole scheme up, and then from there we could start to actually make an assessment of what was working, what wasn't working and what needed doing. It became pretty clear that we actually needed to replace the roof, which is where Phil Copples came along.
Conservatory roofing specialist Phil Coppell Limited were brought in to manage the project, and they set off for West Didsbury at a critical time for the Canopy, which was in a bad way.
It was very, very close to the end of its life, and it was unsafe in fact, and certainly if the council had realised how unsafe it was, they'd have taken it down. So we just got there in the nick of time.
The columns were sandblasted and the spandrels cleaned up. A new roof was installed with specially commissioned Georgian wired glass, and slowly but surely the arcade was restored to its former glory.
You can see some of these columns there having been restored. The workmanship of 1913 is absolutely fantastic, and after sandblasting and obviously the repairs that Copples have done for us, they're going to last for another 100 years. Really good workmanship. To me, I mean, I guess if I was a worker back in 1913 from McFarlane's in Glasgow and I happened to be able to visit this now, I'd say, good Lord, those look just like they did the day we put them in. The detail of the ornamentation is spectacular. So the guy who did the sandblasting, fabulous. Copples, who've masterminded the whole thing, fantastic. Good people to work with, and thank you very much to Phil and his people.
It looks really nice, brings out the bit of beauty in Didsbury again. I think it'll do West Didsbury a lot of good.
I think to restore anything to its original condition, it can only add value to the area, and just aesthetically what it looks like for everybody is, I think it's just brilliant.
It's part of our heritage, so hopefully it's going to be here for a long time to come for these guys as well.
It looks pretty much as it was, and I think that's critical these days, but there's so many things get pulled down and you lose that heritage, especially around here where there's a lot of old Edwardian and Victorian properties.
No matter what neighbourhood you live in, if you see some place getting restored and making it go back to its former glory, that's a good thing, isn't it?
Brings everybody up, doesn't it, as well? Yeah. Brings the community back together.
It retains a bit of Didsbury. This is what I remember when I was a kid. So yes, and hopefully they will do as well.
I can only imagine what bringing this canopy back into use is going to do for the community. It's a real amenity for West Didsbury. I think it's a beautiful piece of architecture, and it's really a place that I think locals will be proud of, and I'm certainly proud of it.
Well, I'm completely bowled over. It was a punt back 2 years ago as to whether it was worth doing it, and it's just turned out to be a wonderful piece of work. To me, it's proof of the fact that if you get people together and they want something doing, we can get it done together.